All right. We are starting the Planning and Zoning and Historical Committee meeting of today, April 3rd, which is a great day because it's my daughter's birthday. So if she may come, so you may wish her a happy birthday. You realize nobody's looking at me.
Bang the gavel.
Huh?
Bang the gavel. That tells the. There you go.
No, they don't care. All right. Well, we're going to start the consent agenda. All of you probably got it already. If you send an email to Rosie, she removed the item from the consent agenda. I'm going to start reading the items, and at any point, if you want me to pull any item out, just let me know and I'll make a note of it and bring it back later, okay? So we're going to start. Resolution RS 2018-1131 by Murphy, Bedney, and Elrod. It approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Department of Transportation and Public Works for the acceptance of lighting improvements in the construction of I-40 from I-40 East to I-440 South. And there is a letter to approve from, no, it's consent agenda. Thank you, though. RS 2018-1133 by Pooley, Bedney, and Elrod. It authorizes Montgomery G. Turner Sr. to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 3790 Bedford Avenue. There is a letter to approve. BL 2018-1127 by Mina Johnson, Burchett, and others. It authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of Davidson Road Phase 2 sidewalk improvement. Next item is 2018-1128 by Bircher, Bedney, and Elrod. It authorizes the acquisition of a right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for purposes of the Forest Park Road sidewalk improvement. Next item is 2018-1129 by Syracuse, Burchett, and others. It authorizes the acquisition and subsequent conveyance of right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for the Lebanon Pike sidewalk improvement. BL 2018-1130 by Anthony Davis, Bedney, and Elrod. There is a letter to approve. It authorizes Metro to accept permanent and temporary easements for the Chester Avenue Stormwater Improvement Project for 14 properties located on Chester Avenue and Chapel Avenue. Next item, BL 2018-1131 by Anthony Davis, Bedney, and Elrod. There is a letter to approve. It authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept the donation of property located at 0 Harbor Avenue. Next item is BL 2018-1132 by Bedney and Elrod. There is no letter to approve. Sorry? I'm going to move it to the Hill. 1132. I'm going to skip that one. There's another one, 1133. There is no letter. BL 2018-1134. Yeah. This one is by Councilmember O'Connell, Bedney, and Elrod. It authorizes Metro to accept permanent and temporary easements for the 2nd Avenue North Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located at 1401, 1403, 2nd Avenue North. BL 2018-1135, by O'Connell, Bedney, and Elrod. It abandons existing stormwater pipe easements rights located between 150 2nd Avenue South and 151 1st Avenue South. BL 2018-1136 by Pooley, Bircher, and Bedney. It authorizes the conveyance, there is a letter to approve, but Councilmember Pulley is here. It authorizes the conveyance of a remnant parcel of property at the intersection of Hillsborough Pike and Crestmore Road. Next item on the consent agenda is BL 2018-1137 by Councilmember Pulley, Bedney, and Elrod. It authorizes the abandonment and closure of a portion of the existing Crestmore Road at the intersection of Hillsborough Pike and Crestmore Road. Next one. There is a letter to approve, okay. BL 2018-1138 by Kendall, Bedney, and Elrod. It abandons portions of alley number 1189 and alley number 1205 right of way. And those are all the items on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so now we are going to go to the item that is not on the consent agenda, and that is BL 2018-1139 by Syracuse, Bircher, and Bedney. It approves the Donaldson Transit-Oriented Development Plan. Councilmember Syracuse. I don't know how to turn this on. It's not letting me. You have to.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to the resolution that we passed last council meeting setting the public hearing on April 17th, I'm just going to move that we defer this until April 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Do I have a second? All in favor say aye. Oppose? All right. So do we have the letters? Okay. Council members, I have a question for you. There are two items that are by Councilmember Elrod. I'm the co-sponsor, but I traditionally don't like to sponsor that because you guys are here and I don't want to play favorites and start speaking on behalf of legislation. But I don't have a letter for Councilmember Elrod, unfortunately. So the question is, should we defer this by rule, or you guys want me to go ahead and move it for approval?
You're a co-sponsor. It's your.
Thank you, Chair. Is this on third? This is.
I'm asking not for this particular case, but in general, how do you guys want me to handle future items?
I feel okay. I would support it. I would support it.
I'm going to go ahead and move these two items, but I want to, yes, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think as a general rule, we've actually seen Chairman Elrod in Public Works do this for members, knowing that any given member can take a different action on the floor if need be. I think it's okay, even without a letter, if you are on there as a sponsor, to go ahead and move these bills. And I think, again, similar to our consent agenda process, if there were something about a given bill that made it come off consent, maybe that's another thing we could apply to this. But in this sort of scenario, I think it's reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Weir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just as a point of counterpoint, since we're having a good discussion on this, it is a responsibility of bill sponsors either to be here in person or to send a letter. And I do think that there is wisdom in that process generally, to ensure that if the district council member in particular is there for the bill, that he or she take responsibility to be present or send a letter. What I have seen maybe in some other cases, as if maybe a council member from an adjoining district or someone like that who's been involved in the project would then sign on basically as a co-sponsor of it on their behalf. I've seen that take place. But otherwise, I guess I'm somewhat just in wanting to uphold the procedure that district council members are responsible for being present or having a letter requesting support for their bills.
And I think this is not about Councilmember Elrod. I mean, this happens regularly where we, unforeseen circumstances, make it to where we cannot make it to the meeting. So I just wanted to know how you all wanted me to handle it, because at the end of the day, I serve at your, you all elected me to this role, so I want to get a sense of how you guys feel about doing this. I'm not trying to squeal responsibility. So far, what I have been doing is I've been forcing for them to be a letter, or I'll defer it. But I don't know that that's what this committee wants to do, so that's why I'm asking for feedback. You're still on the.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm agreeing that sometimes on this body we do, and this is no disrespect to Councilmember Elrod in particular, but sometimes on this body we do have a little bit of issue with council members not showing up to committees or even not showing up for their own bills. And so I personally believe in holding a firm line on that, unless another council member who, perhaps worked with council member in cases like this would do that. Otherwise, I think that, Mr. Chair, your point is well taken, that we would be approving them in some cases, or that you would be moving them in some cases and not others, and that could lead to questions as to why. So from a procedural standpoint, I personally, and speaking only in favor for myself, would prefer to stick with our usual procedure, which would be a deferral unless another district council member wishes to sign on as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Council Lady Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I pretty much concur with Councilmember O'Connell. I think that we could look at this on a case-by-case basis, something that's typically normal that we do, and especially with you being the co-sponsor of it, I think it's okay. And as far as the procedures are concerned, it is the Vice Mayor's role to make sure that the members attend the meetings and are held accountable for the roles that they have. And I think I would leave it up to her to enforce those rules. But I think for the sake of us moving on with the business of the council, I think I have no problem with us dealing with this now and moving on in future.
All right. Thank you, Council Lady. Councilmember O'Connell, you are back on the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few more thoughts on this, and I guess somewhat in response to Councilman Withers. If I'm not mistaken, ordinarily if it is just a zoning bill, for instance, it tends to only have the district member on it. In the case of something that might have an infrastructure thing or something that's already been through a mandatory referral process through departments, again, I guess I would say it might be back to that scenario where, having looked at other committees where given chairs are on the bill, some of it is often to allow for discussion in committee, even if the member is absent, in recognition of the fact that it's typically not that member running that bill, or something that might have triggered a lot of public discussion. So I do understand Councilman Withers' point on this, and I think ordinarily I tend to be probably a little more in favor of rigorous process, but I also say that, with Mr. Jamison sitting right there, I mean, part of this is you are listed as a sponsor of the bill, and therefore have the power to move this through committee in an appropriate fashion. And again, I think one of the reasons we have the committees is so that members can weigh in. So procedurally, this doesn't bother me that much, and if as a general rule, I think if a named sponsor wants to proceed with the bill just for the efficiency of the body, I'm not troubled by that overmuch. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is great deliberation in this committee. So I guess what I'm perhaps hearing from Councilmember O'Connell is that if this committee were to adopt a new practice of moving bills without the sponsor being present, the lead sponsor being present, or a letter being present, that the committee would entertain doing that for mandatory referrals or things of that nature, but would perhaps be disinclined to take the same step for district-specific zoning bills. Would that be accurate? An accurate way of bifurcating those two so that we're all clear going forward?
Councilmember O'Connell, I think he's asking you a question. Can you? Thank you. And you're both on, so you can just talk to each other.
I usually try to address the chair, but sure, I'm happy to respond to Councilman Withers. I mean, I guess if I'm thinking about how we can protect the individual preferences of council members and how those reflect community preferences, this, one of two things could unfold here, right? We could either ask to start stripping committee chairs from this to ensure that district members with administration bills, for instance, always had to be here to have a letter of support. But I guess I look at it and say, the biggest thing that the largest number of bills that many of us process is land use bills. And so for those, I think we've already got the protection in place because they typically only do have the district member, or in those anomalous scenarios, for instance, right now where Councilman Rosenberg is carrying Councilman Lady Wiener's bills from a zoning perspective, I think it's already built into the process that we've got something reasonable for that. This is a case that I'm just not bothered. I'm open to suggestions that in something we could approve, whether by, I don't know that we need to update committee rules personally. I guess I'm not personally bothered by what is possible right now without adjustments to anything.
I'm not necessarily asking for a change in the rule, but I'm asking for your feedback. It's
Right.
the way
So
I can better serve you.
My feedback personally is that I think the existing rules and, kind of a committee, a gentle committee's agreement that if there is if there is anything disruptive in nature about a particular bill, it can obviously be the chair's discretion to slow it down. But in this kind of scenario where it is typically just an admin bill that has been through a mandatory referral process and is not generated a lot of public discussion, then I think it's reasonable to go ahead and move that through. That is one member's opinion, however. Thank you.
Well, this was a good conversation. I appreciate both of you, and I'm going to put something on writing and send it to the committee. But this is very helpful. Thank you all. So I'm going to go ahead and move the two Elrod legislations in the form of a consent. It'll be BL 2018-1132. It abandons existing sewer main and easements to accept the new sanitary sewer manhole and any associated easements for property located at 3801-B and 3803 Abbott Martin Road. And the next one is BL 2018-1133. By Bethany and Elrod, it authorizes Metro to accept permanent and temporary easements for the Sherrill Avenue Stormwater Improvement Project for 6 property located at Sherrill Avenue, Blackstone Avenue, and Lanier Drive. Do I have a motion? Second? All in favor say aye. Oppose? All right, thank you very much for humoring me on that conversation. We are continuing to schedule a meeting, a special meeting to talk about transit-oriented development. We don't have a date yet. This is going to be a co-sponsor meeting, co-chair meeting, by the Ad hoc Affordable Housing Committee and the Planning Committee. And please check your email when you get it. I hope that you all can make it. Your feedback is important. Whatever we do is going to impact, if the referendum gets approved, hopefully, it will impact over 14 different developments around the city, and it will be a good thing for us to do it right to begin with. So with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.